Hello, everyone. My name is Mirna, and on behalf of the Mindalia TV team, welcome to Mindalia live streaming, where thousands of people around the world gather daily to see the lectures and interviews organized by Mindalia TV. Today with us, Danielle Burns and Angel Ribo. Angel Ribo is a CEO, consultant, TV host, international public speaker, and president of the Wisdom for Kids Foundation. Danielle Burns is an impact investment professional. Before starting with them, we want to remind you that Mindalia's mission is to share information that can help raise the level of consciousness around the world, and you can help us by subscribing to our channel, leaving us a positive comment down this video, or sharing it with someone that you know that is going to benefit of the content that we're going to be developing here today. Last but not least, Mindalia's broadcast daily information in Portuguese through Mindalia Televisão and Spanish through Mindalia Televisión. We have information there as beautiful and as interesting as the one that you see daily on Mindalia TV. We also want you to collaborate with us with your own valuable content. And for that, you can go to our website. On the top, you're going to find the form. It says Collaborate with Mindalia. You can click that link. That's going to have us contact you. Our technical team will be getting in contact with you so you can be, like Danielle, sharing valuable information through the different platforms of Mindalia. I'm going to leave you with Angel and Danielle. Guys, welcome to Mindalia live streaming. The screen is yours.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Mirna, for the introduction, and welcome to Mindalia TV. Danielle, how are you today?
I'm doing wonderful, Angel. How about yourself?
Oh, I'm great. Thank you. A little bit cold here in Dallas today, but that's okay. It comes with the season.
Yeah, a little chilly here in Indianapolis as well. A little chilly.
Exactly, Indianapolis. So it must be much more chilly, right? What was the temperature today over there?
It's about 24. 24. Wow. Yeah. But the sun's shining, so that makes it better.
That's good. That's good. So let's start our conversation because, you are making an impact in the financial industry every single day. What made you, choose this in your life? Why the financial industry for Danielle? Why?
Angel, to be honest, if I'm being transparent, I actually never wanted to be in financial services. It sort of found me a little bit. When I was growing up, a young girl, I wanted to go to law school and practice specifically entertainment law. But there was a different path for me, and it landed me here in financial services. So I've been in financial services for a little over 20 years now, and it hasn't always been in this impact investing space. But the last 14 years, I've specifically focused my professional career in working in an environment that works to create a better world for our children's children. And so the impact investing space has been, very personally rewarding to me as a parent, as I work to create a world that my child feels happy, healthy, and free in.
So when you speak about impact, obviously impact means many different things for every different people.
That's right.
In my case, impact is, helping making this world a better place and helping kids in Latin America become entrepreneurs using the local resources. But I think everybody has a different idea about what impact is. Is that correct? Do you see that every day?
Absolutely. The advisors and the clients that we work with, everyone comes to it from a different perspective. And it's important to recognize that we all have differences, but together we can, make a change. And the clients that we work with, they're coming to it from very different perspectives. Some come from it from a faith-based perspective. Some come from an activism perspective, or a social justice, microfinance, community, urban lending, those sort of things. So it's very personal, and it is different for each investor, which makes it fun.
Exactly. Here on Mindalia TV, we love helping people. We love helping people, and actually, financials is an area in a lot of people that is a source of distress. Is a source of suffering. Do you also see that every day, Danielle?
Yes. One of the things that we work hard to do in the financial service industry is to democratize financial services and investing, because for a long time, financial services or investing, I should say, has always been something that only the wealthy, what's perceived to be wealthy here in the United States have access to. And so it's really important to help all citizens know that having access to investments and being able to save is important, and that they can do it too.
And why do you think that this knowledge, can we say that this knowledge has been not available for the population in general? Why do you think that's the case, according to your experience, Danielle?
It's definitely a lack of knowledge, lack of access to resources and information. Personally speaking, growing up, in urban community where financial services wasn't a conversation that we talked about, those weren't conversations that my friends' parents were having with them, that my parents were having with me. So a lot of it has to do with, at least from my experience, a lot of it has to do with, lack of access to information and resources from a very early age. But one of the goals, I know from a lot of the folks that I work with now in the financial services space, is to really educate everyone, all racial backgrounds, ethnicities, socioeconomic backgrounds, on the importance of investing, saving for your future, and what that can do to help create a legacy for your family.
Do you ever see, or you are told stories by your clients or prospecting clients, that really with a little bit more of information, some sources of pain might be or might have been, avoided? Do you see those stories? Do you hear those stories?
Absolutely. Our business on the impact investing side is really focused on stories. It's not that the performance and the investments themselves are not important, but if you're able to connect the dots and really share a story that connects, that can say, okay, through these, microfinance investments, some of these smaller rural areas, they were able to start their own business, which in turn helps to support, family members who have less access to, clean water, food, clothing, shelter, et cetera. It's all about the stories. The stories, connect us to the money and really bring us all together.
What would be the best way so that, massively the population would be at the level of knowledge that they need in order to be more financially, let's say, successful?
That's a heavy question, Angel. There's so much information on the internet now, and the internet is a blessing and a curse, right? Because you have access to so much information, and then you have to try and decipher through, what's right, what's wrong. I would recommend for an individual, if they're looking to better understand how they can, get their own personal finances and investments in a better order, to seek out a local certified financial planner in their home, town, someone who has gotten the proper training and testing and is equipped to help them make difficult decisions, as well as just help to put them on the right path towards financial success. So definitely I would seek out a certified financial planner in their local community that can help to provide them with education and resource.
Would it make sense to start teaching these kind of financial principles to our kids when they are at the school, inside the school system?
Absolutely. I never had a class on personal finance. I know that, I have a 10-year-old son, right? And he's in the 5th grade. And they don't touch on personal finance very much right now, but I see that is where we're going in the education. It's important to start early, basically. And so if we can start to implement, the school systems can start to implement personal finance at an early age in the curriculum, that will be key. But in addition to that, we have to start at home. We can't 100% rely on the school systems to do our jobs. And so as parents, as family members, as a community, it really, makes sense for all of us to come together and start to teach the very basics of, working to save for a toy or whatever it is, but the importance of personal finance at a level that, someone can understand it given where they are.
If we were to start with our own kids at home, as you suggested, would there be what would be the right starting point? What would be that conversation that we might even try to have often at home so that they would become more aware of the importance of financials or finances in their lives?
I think it's important to really just start with the basics. Helping them to understand what money is. How do you attain money? I mean, personally speaking, my son thinks I can always just go in my purse and mysteriously money appears. And so helping our youth to really understand the basics of what money is, how you get money, where money comes from. And some of those resources can be found by obviously Googling information on the internet, but there's also local resources in your community, maybe through some Boys and Girls Clubs or, some other youth or some other community organizations that support financial literacy in the community. So as a parent, you can go and take some financial literacy courses and then come back home and have, very casual conversations over dinner or breakfast.
Let's go back to, the impact that we spoke at the beginning of our conversation. Let's go back to, how impact means different things to different people. So is it possible that, people not only increase their financial literacy through, the help, the support from people like you, Danielle, but also would be able to make an impact in the terms that they wanted to do it in their lives?
Absolutely. One of the key components that we do here at my work is something we do called community investing. And community investing really allows investors to specifically allocate percentages of their portfolio to give back, to contribute to the development, the growth, the revitalization of a local community, whether that's building affordable housing, whether that's helping to support local entrepreneurs, what have you. So each individual absolutely has the ability to direct where their impact is placed in the community through various impact investment options.
Okay. So let's say for instance, in my case, let me give you an example. It's going to be myself, but maybe that extrapolates to someone else. I'm really concerned about kids in the community, specifically in Latin America. Let's say I want to receive a piece of advice from you just to bring it down so kind of the rubber hits the road and Mindalia TV's audience can relate to something extremely specific. So let's say, that's the kind of impact they want to make. And so the conversation, if you and I started to work together, what would be the conversation that we would have that would allow me to ensure that in the future my life would make that impact that they always dreamt of?
Well, in full disclosure, I personally am not a financial advisor. I work with advisors to help them understand the resources and the tools that are available to them to be able to service clients such as yourself. Okay. So with that being said, my first course of action would be to introduce you to a financial advisor. But that advisor would most likely sit down with you and really, Angel, have a discovery conversation on what it is that you want to do, what impact you want to have. And if it is supporting kids and helping kids and that initiative, then we would start to research, or then they would start to research, what are the investment options out there that specifically target, kids and supporting them, whether it be from is it that kids have access to sustainable agriculture? Are they eating, do they have access to clean water and food when they go to school? Are they walking on well-lit streets if they're coming home in the evening, or what have you? So the advisor would then take that opportunity to research what companies out there, who's out there really supporting these grassroots initiatives, and identify investment options for you to meet those needs.
So are you saying that then it's really possible to find like investment opportunities that are like conscious opportunities, like that they're related to the way that many people might be wanted to make an impact in their lives?
Absolutely. We have clients who come to us from a myriad of backgrounds. We have clients that come to us from a faith-based perspective. They are Catholic, or they are, they want to, they're Christian or what have you, and they want to invest according to their faith. And so there are investments that are specifically aligned with the Catholic belief or the Christian beliefs or Islamic beliefs or what have you. We have clients that come to us and say, I'm really passionate about sustainable agriculture, or microfinance, urban lending, social justice. Gosh, there's tons of them, but I help you to identify what investments meet those needs. And that's our job, to stay abreast of what's trending in the marketplace, who's doing what the performance, from an investment perspective, what the performance of these funds are doing, and align those things as closely to your portfolio as possible. One of the other things we haven't talked about is a lot of gender equity issues, women in leadership, corporate diversity, equity and inclusion. As you know, that's a very important and topic that's on a lot of folks' minds today. And that's another piece that we really help investors to understand if they want to support initiatives that are in alignment with women in leadership, gender equity, diversity, equity, inclusion, et cetera.
Excellent. That's a great point. Thank you for bringing it up, Danielle, because every Tuesday, today, unfortunately, Judy Hoverman hasn't been able to be with us. Yeah. But she's always with us in the show. But obviously, every single Tuesday, we speak about, gender equality. And thank you for bringing this up. So let's say that, because, you are a very, very diligent warrior, if I am allowed to say it that way, person that really is very, very conscious and aware of what's going on in the world and is trying to make a difference in the gender equality space. Why would you say that's the case? According to your experience in the financial industry, why would you say that has been the case so far?
This is a really personal issue for me, Angel, and because I work in an industry where historically most folks don't look like me, and so it's very personal to me to help others who come behind me understand that you too can have a place here. So with that being said, others are recognizing that as well. There's diversity in thought. If you have everyone around the table who looks like each other, comes from the same place, it's not, the studies are out there, and it's just not an ideal way to run a business. And so financial professionals are starting to really have some of these uncomfortable conversations to better understand why it is that there has been such poor gender diversity within the financial services space, and how we can work together, really creating allyships with all people to create gender equality within financial services. It's just historically been a space that's not been for people of color and women. And so we're looking to actively change that by engaging in dialogue with companies, individuals, to make a change.
Do you think that the women today are allowed in the financial services industry? They are allowed to bring that issue up?
I would say, I would hope so. If I'm being honest, I think there probably are still some places where it's frowned upon to bring issues up of equality or advancement of women in the workplace. But I hope that that's the minority of places. I hope that women feel empowered and encouraged to speak up, to say, hey, I've noticed this, that, or the other, or, here's something we can do to, increase our diversity within our team and et cetera. I hope it's the minority and definitely not the majority anymore.
According to your experience, again, what do you think that diversity, gender diversity, brings to the table, brings to a company, brings to those meetings, brings to those services that a company like yours, for instance, provides to society?
Yeah, I mean, it brings different thought, perspective, ideas, energy. It just brings, it makes it more enjoyable to be able to be around someone who is different from you, and you can say, gosh, I hadn't really thought about it like that. That's a good point, Angel, or thank you for sharing that. And if we all just went to the same college, we had the exact same experience. And so we have nothing different to relate it to. So I think that having diversity of thought, having, different people in the room really creates a more well-rounded team, and the team is able to do more and attract, different audiences and different people when you're out marketing your business. You don't have all the same people singing the song.
Exactly. That's a very good point, Danielle. If you were, if you had the magic wand, what would it be like the first step to start to change the financial services world, at least, and the presence of women? What would be that thing that you would like to do, like a first step?
Oh, that's a good question, Angel. And honestly, I'm not sure. That's tough. I mean, I think that I definitely think we're making we're taking steps in the right direction. I have a good friend and a colleague who is, she's really, making some efforts in this, some strides, some real positive strides in this space. And, she and I have talked about this in the past. And I think that if we can see just a small glimmer, if we can get people to have the conversation, or at least be open to having the conversation, that's the first step. For a lot of people within financial services, the door was never open. So if we can at least, first step, get the door open and get people interested in having the conversation, I would be jazzed.
Do you see differences, literally? Like, do you see a lot of differences in the way that women and men deal with the same kind of circumstances in the marketplace, in the financial services marketplace? Do you see that? Do you see those differences?
Absolutely. I work with both women and men advisors, and our women advisors tend to be a bit more empathetic when it comes to their clients. Not that men are not, because that's not what I'm saying, but the women tend to be a little bit more empathetic. They approach I find that our women advisors not all of them, I don't want to say a blanket everybody, but some, I find that they tend to approach client situations a bit differently, how they interact with their clients, the types of client events that women have versus the types of events that men advisors have. So there's definitely a difference.
Okay. And when we were talking about, what would be the next step? I was asking you what would be the first step if you had a magic wand and you wanted to change this. Have you ever been in a position in which even return on investment has been calculated depending on the deals of the part of the business in which men and women were participating? Is that something that would that make sense at all, like
we find that and this isn't, I can only speak on my experience here with my firm, but we find that most of our investors, they are not necessarily willing to give up returns, but they understand that there may be a bit of a difference in the return, but given the fact that they are able to support their social criteria and goals, and they can align their investments in a meaningful and an impactful way that says, this is me, I'm speaking with my dollars, they're okay with that. Now, with that being said, historically, from a performance perspective, it's sort of a myth that when you invest in an impact investing way, sustainable, responsible investing, socially responsible investing, and I don't want to get down the performance path too much, but the myth has historically been that you have to give up returns in order to do so. And if, being honest, Angel, that used to be the case 15, 20 years ago, but not anymore. There are numerous education studies and resources out there that, fully support that investing in a way that is in alignment with an investor's values, you can 100% generate alpha, which is generate a return. And so you don't have to give up anything in order to invest this way.
And that's a good point. From the investor's perspective, are investors in general the same amount of men and women?
Great question. Historically speaking, impact investing, sustainable, responsible impact investing has been heavily on the women's side, because it's more of a heart, heart thing, and more women tend to lean towards this type of investing. We're also finding now with recent studies that impact investing is very geared towards millennials. Millennials want to invest in a way that they can create meaning, have impact. And so there's lots of studies out there now that show in the next, wave of wealth transfer, over $40 trillion is going to be transferred, and that's going to go to women and millennials. And so what that says for the males and the male advisors of our space is that it's important for them to understand what it is that women want as investors, as well as what millennials want and need as investors.
Which is therefore different to what men typically want for their investments?
I mean, everybody's different. I think that, if I'm just speaking very generally here, and, my own personal.
My screen for Danielle has frozen. What about you, Mirna?
Yes, I lost her too. She has
Okay.
the image frozen. We can wait for a little bit.
Yeah, let's wait. If you could reach out to her.
Absolutely.
That would be, thank you.
Mhm.
When
Hello?
There she is. Hey, can you hear us?
yes,
Perfect.
I'm not
Awesome.
quite sure what happened there.
No idea.
No problem. We can continue. You're here, and that's what's important.
All right, I'm not quite sure what happened.
I don't know. No idea. Anyway, so we are back.
All right.
Okay, so what were we talking about?
We were
About
talking about the difference between
yeah,
women and men investors.
investing, exactly. Mhm.
Yep. Yep. And I was just saying that very generally speaking, and I 100% don't want to put everybody in the same box. That's not what I'm saying at all. But men have historically been, focused on the return, and then women investors want to obviously generate a return as well as create impact.
And you also mentioned that you see the same trend with millennials.
Absolutely. Millennials is they want their investments to speak to who they are and what they do, what they believe in. And they are a key component to financial services going forward from a client perspective.
Excellent. That's fantastic. When we were talking about before, I don't know if you also see this, but we like to talk with at this show on Tuesday. We like to talk also about diversity in general. Obviously, there are many other minorities that are playing an important role in our society here in America.
Absolutely.
Do you also see some other trends, like some other minorities that you see that they are more biased or they are more willing to invest or to have investments which have a heavily, have a component of consciousness and social development?
I think so. I know that the the Asian community is very involved in investing, and I think that they've done a very good job. The Asian community has done an extraordinary job at educating their own community about financial services and investing. I would love to see other, people of color get to that as well. But I definitely think that the Asian community has done an outstanding job at educating each other on how and why investing is important.
Are there cultural reasons for that?
You know what, Angel? My guess would be yes, but I honestly, I'm not 100% sure. I don't know if that's, conversations that they're having, at early age. I don't know. That's a good question. I'm not sure.
Let's go back to culture. Culture is obviously paramount in order to make sure that everybody has the same rights and the same opportunities in corporations. So, what do you think could be a good way to start changing the culture in general in America so that they took diversity and gender equality more into consideration?
I think that it goes back to my point about having a conversation. We've gotten, as a society, really comfortable with not talking to each other. We text way too much. We avoid phone calls at all costs. I think it just goes back to having conversations. I mean, we don't, you don't go outside and talk to your neighbor anymore. And so I think if we can just start by talking to each other and understanding, who we are at the very core of who we are as a people, that's going to be a step in the right direction. And once we start to, develop relationships with folks where, we like and trust and they feel comfortable, then we can, and they feel safe, that it's okay to share their innermost deep thoughts and know that it's a safe place for them to do that, people will start to, have those uncomfortable conversations. They'll be okay with it. And that'll help to start to shift the culture change. I don't have, I don't know if there's any one right way to do it, but I definitely believe that we cannot do it if we just don't start talking to each other. I feel like as a society, we don't do that enough anymore. We talk at people all the time, but we don't have genuine, deep conversations. We don't love our neighbor.
That's so true. And I think everybody is kind of responsible of those changes, everybody in their community and in their neighborhood.
Yeah, I would turn, I would ask you, what are some of your thoughts on terms of, how might we go about getting folks to make that cultural shift, from a very basic level?
Well, number one would be, and yeah, I agree with you. It comes down to communication. I think that everything has to be allowed to be talked. Everything. I mean, whatever it is. I mean, because still fear is something extremely relevant in many organizations.
Absolutely.
And people don't want to lose their jobs. Right. So they keep quiet and they don't say anything, and they don't stand up for things. That if that wasn't the case, probably they would. So I think that's number one. I think that the leadership style of organizations in general, companies in general, should allow to have those conversations no matter what. Mm-hmm. Open-mindedness of everybody, of the business leaders today. I think that they all should allow those conversations to have. And I think that this is happening a lot. I interact with a lot of companies that are hiring millennials, and those conversations are happening.
Absolutely.
Sometimes they say, and the other day we had someone here at the show that was a millennial, and she's an expert on dealing with them. Millennials ask weird questions. But what is a weird question? Why couldn't you, as far as it's respectful,
right?
As far as it's respectful, why cannot you just talk about something that concerns you, that you think it's necessary or it's important, right? So yeah, number one is from the top of the company, allow everybody to have all the conversations, obviously from a place of acceptance, of respect, of love, just to number two, once those conversations have been allowed, then how do we think we can make and I love that you work with impact, because impact is a very strong word. I think that every single organization should have defined what their impact is.
Absolutely.
And once those conversations have been allowed, then those conversations should be around impact. What an impact? What is that impact that as an organization or individuals inside this organization we want to make in the world, in our community, and how are we going to go about it? You mentioned before that you have community investments in the sense that you actually teach the community, you show the community what they can do. I think that probably this is one of the conversations that everybody should have. So what is the impact? And obviously inside the impact, I think that equality and inclusion and diversity and disparity, those are all words that should be part of those conversations.
To your point, Angel, about having folks within an organization to really support this from the top down, I also think it's important that there's going to be someone within an organization who, no matter how safe of an environment it is, they're just not going to say anything. So I also think it's important for organizations to have some sort of allyship that, for those team members who feel like, I want to share, I really do, but I just can't for whatever the reason. And so that they can go to someone else within the organization and say, here's how I'm feeling. Would you mind sharing this? Because the reality is there's going to just be some person in an organization who's just not going to to share, and that's perfectly okay. But it's also important for them to know that their voice can still be heard through an ally or a partner within the organization who supports these DEI initiatives, diversity, equity, and inclusion initiatives. So within the organization is critical.
Is there a specific role in the company? Are we talking about HR, or it can be really anybody?
I think it could be anybody. I mean, once, say you and I, we sit at a desk next to each other, and I'm like, Angel, I'm super shy, but you're the outgoing one on our team. And so, you and I develop a relationship, and you say to me, well, Danielle, okay, I'll champion us, I'll champion our story. So I share with you. So I think it can be anyone, as long as, everyone has mutual respect for each other and we're all working towards the same goal. I don't think it has to be an HR person. If there's someone else who's willing to help.
Mm-hmm. We mentioned several times that one of the ways that people like to invest with impact is through conscious organizations and conscious, let's say, financial instruments. Besides going and looking for financial advisors, are those instruments fully available? I mean, can anybody through a Google search and get to be like informed and familiar with those conscious investment instruments?
Absolutely. The mutual fund companies, the investment companies that specifically work in the impact investing space, I'm not going to say that all of them are available to an individual retailer, but I would guess that I will say that over 95% of them are available to an individual investor by going to their own website, and you can invest in those companies directly. A really good resource to understand, what's trending in our investment industry in the impact space, who the players are, so to speak. There's an organization called the U.S. Social Investment Forum, and their goal is to specifically put out information on what's trending in the impact investing space, who the players are, and how to access that information. So absolutely, investors can go to these places directly to invest.
What could you help our audience to find that specific place that you just mentioned?
Sure. It's the website is www.ussif.org, ussif.org. And they are the nonprofit trade association for the sustainable responsible impact investment space. And they do a lot of good work. They do public policy work in terms of helping to create change at all levels, consumer work, you name it. So they're also a very good resource to understand who the mutual fund players are out there and what's trending in terms of money that's coming into the industry. They have really cool graphics and information that's on their website that's easy to understand and digest. There's also a place where someone could go to look for a financial professional to work with as well. So they're a great resource.
Going back to the human aspect of investing and financial literacy, would you say that when people are in financial distress, is that more? Are there more women or men in financial distress, or people that come to you asking for questions? How could I, improve my situation through investments? What do you see in your particular case?
I don't see more men or women. I can't particularly delineate between, which is less or more. I think that for the people that we're seeing, they're coming to us and they're just overall interested in creating a better financial health for themselves and their family. And so they just want to be able to say, okay, I'm building wealth, I'm helping to leave a legacy for my children's children. A lot of the clients that we work with philanthropy is very important, and really that leaving a legacy for their children's children is key. It's not about, I mean, some people obviously have much more immediate goals. I want to buy a boat, so help me save to get a boat. But for a lot of people, it's more long-term planning, that life legacy planning piece of it. And it's not so much more men than women, just people in general are interested in to do that.
If you were to give, I mean, we are obviously in the holiday season, and it's a season where a lot of people spend a lot of money. So
Yes.
that probably has a lot of different consequences. And again, you already told us before that you're not you're personally advising people, but we still want to take the opportunity because our audience is asking that to us right now. So, as a woman, as a leader, as a mom, as a member of the financial industry in general, any pieces of advice that you would like to share with people today so that they had a more, let's say, de-stressed financial season?
Yeah, that's a good point. And these are things that I think about in my own home. If by making that purchase, whatever that purchase is, if by making that purchase, it's going to really cause stress on your household after December 25th, don't do it. Be mindful, think about other ways that you can gift people, give gifts to folks or family and friends. Mm-hmm. That's beyond monetary. Someone I know recently told me that one of the most generous things we can give to people is our time. And Judy, and so look at other ways that you can gift people, and maybe it's your time, maybe it's going over and just hanging out and having a cup of coffee with someone. I would say don't go broke trying to make people happy. That's not your job at the end of the day. And be mindful. I mean, everybody wants to give. That's, but be mindful of your purchases, and just don't go broke trying to make people happy, because at the end of the day, you won't be happy, and it's important for you to be happy. So be mindful. Think about other ways you can, support your family and your friends during the given season. That's not necessarily tied to a dollar. Shop around, that's what I do. Look for sales and things like that. But I would just say, don't make decisions in the heat of the moment because you want to buy that, and then after December 25th, you're stressed out.
Awesome.
I mean, it's very basic. It's not anything high level at all, but I sometimes feel like we tend to overcomplicate simple processes.
I agree. It's the simple things, and I really like the way that you phrased. If that's going to put you in a stress after a certain date, it means that probably you don't have to do it. And I agree. Again, we talked about communication, we talked about cell phones, we talked about texting, we talked about time and spending time with the people that we really love and really care about. So I think that's a great piece of advice. Danielle, we cannot finish this conversation without please sharing with the audience, how can people find Danielle Burns?
Yeah, thanks. I am on Twitter. I'm at DMRMCB, so you can follow me there. Feel free to email me at dmrmcb@gmail.com if there's any questions that you might have as it relates to impact investing, and how I can help you to be a resource or provide you information. I'd be delighted to do so. So Twitter, DMRMCB, or DMRMCB@gmail.com.
Excellent. The last question is going to be about, this incredible initiative for corporations, which is called walking on the glass floor, walking on the glass floor. You are one of the founding members. What moved you to be part of such an amazing initiative?
Yeah, as I referenced earlier in our chat, this is extremely personal to me, because I've always been in an environment, a professional work environment, where people didn't look like me. And so if I can help to create a culture shift and a change within an organization that will give someone else the strength and the courage to be able to support others around them who are different from them, is really key. And so, when I was approached by Judy and the team to be a part of Walking on the Glass Floor, I was overwhelmed. I truly believe that there are certain times and people who come into our lives who truly have the ability to make a difference and change your life. And my relationship and engagement with Walking on the Glass Floor and Judy, and you as well, Angel, on the team, is definitely helping to change my life. And so for that, I'm eternally grateful.
Awesome. Thank you. So thank you very much again for being with us today, Danielle. It's been a blessing. We have not had this perspective from the financial world, a world which is so unknown to so many people, and this is the origin of a lot of distress. So we are so happy to see that there's impact possible to be made every single day.
Absolutely.
So again, thank you.
Thank you very much. It was a pleasure. I look forward to seeing you soon.
Absolutely, you will. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And again, absolutely, you are welcome. This is Angel Rivo with Mindalia TV. Thank you very much for being with us today. Hope you have a great day and see you soon. Bye bye.